added the timeline, and then she talked about the timeline, and then she called it promising solutions, and it was bandwidth monitoring, dirty data to be sorted. So honestly, I think what she did was good. We'll just put it in our format, and then she would need to record. Did she already record? I don't even know. Oh, is that her?
I don't know. Hey, by the way, I started recording. I don't know if you'll actually need it, but figured I'd just go ahead and turn it on. Last time I didn't. I don't know what that thing was.
So it doesn't look like she recorded yet, but it looks like she put notes in her slides of what she would say. So honestly, I think if she just records that, we may need to walk through. I know I didn't record until, I've never recorded on a PowerPoint until this time. So I figured out how to do it. We may need to walk her through how to do it.
Yeah.
But otherwise, we can just put her stuff directly into our packet. So I think she's good.
So for this call, do you guys want to just kind of do a screen share and walk through each one and just kind of not give a presentation or anything, or we don't even have to listen to the audio, just kind of like skip through them and then at least make sure that we're in alignment on the order. You know, for instance, like right now, I think security's last. Does it need to be last? Should it be second? Or, you know, that sort of thing. And then if I had a couple questions for my slides I needed to clear up.
Okay, yeah, sure.
What order should we go in? Like, what order do you think they should be put in?
Get back to that. Hold on. I got to open up another window to get back to
The same order that we put our executive summary in?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Then it would be David, well, Anita, David, me, Ben, Christina, back to Anita. So we would just do it the same way we did our executive summary.
And what was your topic?
Mine was the data warehousing analytics.
Okay.
So I have 3 slides in here, one taken directly out of the book, and I talked on those 3 slides.
In the end, it probably doesn't matter, but it might make sense for security to be next to the infrastructure. They're pretty closely related, but in the end, it doesn't matter.
I don't think she's going to be that picky.
Nah, probably not.
All right. So let's see. So Anita's not here yet, but David, do you want to go through yours since you'll be first after Anita?
Sure.
You want to share your screen, David?
Yeah, I mean, one sec.
So I won't be able to share my screen because I'm using 2 totally different computers.
Oh.
I have one for school and one for you guys.
One of us can share your presentation.
Okay.
Are you guys able to see my screen?
Yes.
I see your initials.
Oh,
You
I
guys-
see the screen.
You do? Maybe it hasn't caught up yet. Give it a sec. There it is. It just caught up on mine. There we go. I see it. Picture.
Did you want me to play the audio with my 2 o'clock raggedy voice?
I just talked through it. I mean,
All right,
yeah,
so
yeah.
So I basically start off the architecture. I got to phone Teresa's start where she just starts off with next. We're covering this. So basically, I just said next we're covering the IT architecture, and then essentially what I said was that to meet the business objective of increasing the healthcare presence, my section talks about how the IT architecture aligns with it. So jumping in, some of this is really from the document we created before, where we had a little bit too much meat in it. So really, I just basically just say the architecture was designed to be resilient, scalable, and secure. And then throughout my slide, the theme that I kind of keep focusing on is having the applications accessible anytime, anywhere, from any device. And you'll kind of see that throughout the presentation as I'm talking through it. And then basically the theme that I stuck with is really about the key applications that are going to be SaaS based, which SaaS was high within our, that was one of the sections in our chapter, as well as I added some enhanced technology pieces that call out some of the chapter things, like location near field solutions, which I'll talk through them in the next slide. And then finally, I thought for infrastructure, we would need to definitely call out some of the topics about the infrastructure. So there were sections of, within the chapter that talked about virtualized environments. So I mentioned basically virtualized hardware, expanding the presence of the network, and then increasing scalability. So it's really just more or less, this is teeing off the slides to follow. And surprisingly, I didn't think I had that much content, but as I got to the end of the slide, I was struggling to stay within 7 minutes. So really, I start this one off with just saying, for Rocky Mountain, we selected 2 key SaaS applications. And then I talk about the EMR, which I don't know if it's gonna get us in trouble or not, but I actually just Googled like what Epic's market share is. And basically they have 50% of the hospital EMR. So I basically said that was one of the reasons we select them. And then part of Epic, if you're healthcare, Epic really requires a lot of staffing, as well as infrastructure is very expensive to implement. So I teed that off and said to reduce the spend, we would like to actually partner with Mercy Technologies. They actually offer their EMR as a SaaS-based solution to other healthcare. They've been doing it for about 10 years. So essentially that was kind of just talking about the EMR rationale. And then I went into some of the key modules of Epic, which is my chart, which goes back to that theme of, well, I teed it off by saying, we're part of Epic's my chart is going to be geared towards boosting the patient experience. And really the key driver here is the patient is able to check their medical record anytime, anywhere, any place. If you guys went to any like Cincinnati hospitals, they're all Epic, and you have that capability to do that today.
We're converting to Epic right now.
Say it one more time.
We're converting to Epic right now. UK hospital is.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much in Ohio, if a physician is a visiting physician, Epic is pretty much going everywhere.
Epic is awesome. Just the little bit I've seen is so much better than what we have right now.
What do you guys have right now?
Like 65 different systems.
Oh.
Yeah, they're all piecemeal. It's awful.
Yeah, we at Mercy, we rolled out Epic over a 23 hospitals. Let's see, it's about maybe 600-700 physician offices. It took probably about 5 years. And Mercy staff, to give you an idea, they onboarded 200 people that are dedicated to just supporting Epic.
That's what we do too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we had a bunch of openings, and so we lost a bunch of staff to the Epic implementation team. Yeah.
Yeah, it is not a cheap solution, is it?
No, it is not. So we had to put everything else on the back burner. Yeah, this is really good information.
Yeah, and it really, I try not to go too far in the weeds, but it's anybody who's in healthcare, these are really the key. These are key things of Epic that people want. And then really like you guys are probably rolling out Rover as well, which is more, it's Android iOS mobile app, which traditionally you probably have WOWs, like the wireless carts on wheels, where they push them in the patient rooms and they do stuff like scan the armband.
Yeah.
Well, with Rover, you can do that with the iPhone. So I can take my iPhone and scan your armband. So
Wow.
it's really cool. And then the only other item I mentioned was just almost every organization is using Office 365, which is this basically Microsoft Office in the cloud. And I basically just teed that and said, that's something that will enhance the business user experience. Let's see.
Great.
So for enhancing technology, I really try to call out things that the book discussed, but are also very prevalent in healthcare. So one of the big things for healthcare, and especially with Rocky Mountain, if they're developing a new wing, likely that wing, depending on how big it is, could be confusing for patients. So I basically teed it up and said we would implement a wayfinding tool. We actually did this at Jewish Hospital in Cincinnati. basically what happens is like when you go into like even the parking lot or even the main lobby, if you downloaded their wayfinding app, it'll pop up something on your phone and say, hey, we noticed you're in Mercy or within Rocky Mountain. Can we help you find a location? And if you put in like radiology or gift shop, it will basically navigate you step by step to how to find it. So I thought that would be really cool because the chapter actually covered Bluetooth, so it's very relevant. And then for near field solutions, I wanted to pick something. I actually picked something that we use at Wellstar. That's where I work in Atlanta. But basically, RFID is just the location tracking, where you can put tags on wheelchairs and things like that, and it'll basically help you find where they're at. So like wheelchairs are something that's commonly lost in the hospital. What I actually picked as an example was it's called Hugs and Kisses. And to give you an example, my wife and I, we just had a baby in August. And essentially what happened was like just like the picture, they put a tag on the baby, they put a tag on the mother. And there's some of those cases where you've heard of babies getting lost or stolen type scenarios. If the baby's over 20 feet away from the mother, it'll actually trigger alarm and lock down the elevators. So,
Wow.
so that was pretty much what I kind of covered on the slide. And then I thought telemedicine is very relevant, especially right now with the coronavirus. I didn't mention coronavirus, but I think it's very relevant. So I basically just suggested that we would leverage the video conferencing, which ties, or video visits basically, which ties directly back to the objective of increasing the healthcare presence. So they're able to do that because even if they got people in rural areas, telemedicine allows them to reach places where they may not have a presence from a building perspective. Is that any questions so far?
This is all good information.
All right, and then the last slide, I just try not to get too techy. So I basically just mentioned that we would optimize, basically optimization is going to be a prerequisite for deploying the SaaS applications and enhancing the technology. And I basically just went through that we basically have to optimize the network, workstation, servers, and storage. And those were all key infrastructure devices mentioned in the chapter. I went a little techie, and you guys can tell me if it's too techie. I definitely can tailor it back. But basically, I just suggested that we would have a high-speed wired network and a wireless network. I mentioned 802.11ac because that was mentioned in the chapter. And basically, that's just the latest standard for wireless where it gives you higher speed. And you need it for healthcare because if you're putting in high medical systems like the imaging devices like MRIs, a lot of those are wireless, and you've got to have the high-speed bandwidth to support it. So I tied it back to the telemedicine and just said if it's going to be video in the hospital, you're going to need high-speed wireless. And then I mentioned, obviously, with the SaaS being across the internet, I just mentioned that we would have diverse internet connections, which gives them high resiliency. And then for workstations and servers, most organizations, I wouldn't say all, but a significant portion of organizations are really using virtual desktops, which basically are like dumb computers you'll get basically a dumb computer and it remotes back to somewhere usually in a data center where you actually have the desktop. So I just mentioned that, and then I mentioned that the desktop would be accessible anywhere, anytime, any place, following that same theme. So if you're at home, you could put in that custom URL and it will give you your desktop, which presents all your applications that are not SaaS-based. And then for just for security, which I think will tie to your slide, Ben, I just mentioned that we were protected with two-factor authentication, which was covered, I think, in the chapter. And then like for the rest of it is just same thing with storage. I mentioned we would virtualize it, and then same with servers, and then same with storage. And I don't know storage that well, Ben, so if you know storage and that doesn't sound right, definitely let me know. And that was pretty much it.
This is great.
So thank you for the compliment. Now my voice is very graggly, so you may not feel the same way about the audio.
Yeah, I think it's great. Ben, I think you were talking, but I don't think I heard you.
I could hear you, Ben.
I can't hear him.
Oh, I can't either. Sorry about that, Ben. I didn't hear you talking.
Oh, I thought you meant you were talking to David. I was like, I heard David.
How about now? Can you hear me?
There you
Yes, there we go.
All
I
right,
hear
I
you.
don't know what's happening. I had to get rid of my headset. Sorry about that, guys. I was just going to say, my lights have flickered a couple of times. If the power goes out and I get disconnected, I'll come back. But hopefully, I'm not going to have that happen. That's all fantastic information, David. I think it looks really good. And yeah, the storage on the EMC hardware on like an EMC SAN, that's perfectly valid. In fact, the one time I ever had VMware Horizon, we had it on an EMC SAN. So there you go.
Good job.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. I guess, Ben, since you're having coverage issues, you want to go next?
Sure. Hopefully I don't. But yeah, let me bring up my presentation here one sec. All right, let me share my screen. One sec. Here it comes. Tell me when you can see it.
I can see it.
Yep.
All right. Now, first of all, I haven't recorded any audio. I need to answer a couple questions before I do, and I was honestly running for later on my calendar than I had hoped with this, but I'm planning to do it tonight. Also, this seems like a lot of content, but I'm sure I can keep it pretty tight, and I can also trim some things if necessary. We were talking right before you came on, David. I think the requirement is to make it between 20 and 30 minutes, but not to go over 30 minutes. So I guess we all need to keep it. If we all keep it inside of 7 minutes, we should be, 6 or 7 minutes, we should be fine. Anyway, so I did IT security, compliance, and risk management. I had a separate slide talking about, the things that I would, describe that I'm going to be talking about. I think you guys have kind of done that on your intro slides. So I might get rid of the agenda slide and just say that here as I'm saying, hey, the next thing we're going to talk about is IT security and talk about the things that I'm going to cover. The first thing that I talked about was regulatory compliance, HIPAA, high tech, obviously, and then PCI. One of my questions was, see, I know these topics and I know IT security and technology. I don't know much about hospital technologies and Epic and all that. When it comes to taking credit cards and whatnot, do you do that with Epic, or are we doing that with different software? You take payment?
You can do it with Epic. We did not, because that puts Epic in the scope for PCI. So we actually just use encrypted readers, which basically they encrypt on swipe. But PCI is very relevant for healthcare. Did you catch that?
Yeah, I did. I just made a couple notes. So I just want to make sure I don't say the wrong thing. Okay. So as far as, regulatory compliance, those are the three. And I'll say something about what each of these are and what it is that they're interested in. And then strategies for achieving compliance, adopt an IT security framework. I'll talk about very briefly like ISO 27000 and COBIT, but NIST 800 is what I would recommend for a security framework because it's the government's framework. And we're trying to align with government regulations. And so the best framework to use is theirs. And so I'll say just a little bit about that. And then this is where I was asking about that PCI, because I said, one of the things you do is deploy compliant third-party software such as Epic. Imprivata, that's something you're using for SSO into Epic and other healthcare applications. Is that right? Okay, so let's do that. And then I can say a few things about Office 365, more around security and multi-factor and that sort of thing. And then sorry, go ahead.
For PCI, if you want, you can just say it covers gift shops, cafeterias. All those areas will fall into PCI.
I'll say something about encrypted readers. I noted that down. Okay. And then Now, I called this sort of secure foundations. It's something I was going to say in my intro, but basically a bunch of technologies and concepts that are necessary to have a secure environment and that would be required, this or some, these are something similar would be required by, for instance, NIST 800 and these other regulatory requirements. So one question, Active Directory, I didn't catch it in your slides because I was fighting my mic. Are you intending, or did you say anything, whether you're going to have AD accounts versus Azure accounts?
I didn't, so that's awesome that you covered it.
Okay, so I'll mention Active Directory, network segmentation, separating the networks for, the public, the doctors, isolating PCI to private networks. And, I'll get into that concept, DMZs for externally facing systems, that sort of thing. Managed firewalls. I named a firewall vendor and or a firewall manufacturer. I might name a vendor that I know of, just saying that we'll have a third party that, configures and monitors those for us. VPNs for external access. Did this thing say anything about multiple sites? I can't remember. Does this hospital of ours have multiple sites?
No, it's just one site. We're just going to expand the current site.
Okay, well, I'll probably get rid of this one here.
Actually,
then.
you know what you could put instead? It's
Yeah.
site-to-site VPNs between partners, or they have clinical partners, so that's very relevant.
Partners.
Well, and even like, what was that? Can you guys hear me?
Can hear you now.
Yeah.
It's weird.
What was that?
I don't know.
All right. But I work from home most of the time anyway, and I have to dial into VPN from here, even though I work for UK, I'm dialing in.
So that's my second part, remote computer access. Like, say, for instance, my company, we've got bunches of locations. We've got permanent static VPN connections between them. So it's the same technology that you're using to get to work, but it's just a different way of using it.
Okay.
Even though this is a lot of topics, I'll be able to talk through these all relatively quickly. Group policy to make sure we have password standards, screen locking, that sort of thing. Security patch management so that we are protecting monthly against vulnerabilities, Microsoft and vendors, that sort of thing. Antivirus, obviously. Intrusion detection, intrusion prevention. VMware AirWatch, I actually took that from your notes, David, about device security for applications such as Epic Rover, which is the mobile app for Epic. So I'll probably brush past this because I don't have any direct experience with it, but I'll mention it. Thin clients, when you're connecting into your VMware view, you're going to use thin clients, which can't store data and are very secure. So that's obviously has a security. It's just in addition to it being really handy and useful and cheap and versatile, it's also a nice security feature. But where we can't use thin clients, we would enforce full disk encryption to say, your entire hard drive on your laptop or desktop has to be encrypted. That you can do that with stuff that's built into Windows, but I can talk about that briefly. And then annual vulnerability assessments and penetration testing by a third party. So they would, we would contract with a company to test our security on an annual basis, give us the results, and that would drive our budget for the next year to improve our systems and that sort of thing. Employee education. Basically, we'd have an IT acceptable use policy. It is what it sounds like. Know before. I think you guys have heard, some of you have heard of know before. Online web training for employees. Make them take it annually. We can also do quarterly phishing campaigns so that we can send them fake phishing emails, and if they fall for it, they have to go back through training. That's always fun. They really appreciate that.
They love that.
Risk management, business impact analysis. So a lot of detail here, but again, I'll go through it pretty quickly. Basically, recovery point objective. These things basically identify, how much data you need to have backed up so that you're sure you can restore it to, as recent as you would need to have it. How quickly do you need to have certain systems back? And then identify risks and business impacts for each system. And I made a point that even though we're talking about security, we also need to think about, fires and hurricanes and even pandemics. If you have staff that needs to be on site to physically maintain certain things and they weren't going to be there, that's something you need to plan for. That's as close to talking about the current situation as I get. Risk management, it specifically said to include an example of this. So this looks awfully wordy, but basically the point of this entire thing, and it's mostly taken straight from the textbook, is to say, you know, here I've got two examples. Ransomware attack, it's basically we're saying we're 90% certain that we're going to get a ransomware attack, that they're going to attempt to do it. But we think that with our security, it's only, 1/10 of 1% likely to be successful. If it were successful, it would cost us $5 million. Because of the unlikelihood of it, the actual, risk is only about $4,500, right? Whereas equipment theft, I just pull these numbers out of the air just to try and make the point. Much more, or, maybe it's not as likely that we're going to have somebody steal from us, but if they try, it's much more likely they're going to succeed. And if they do, it's going to cost us $25,000. Using the same formula from the book, this is actually, from a prioritization standpoint, we should prioritize protecting against theft ahead of the ransomware attack. Now, of course, you should do both, but I'm just trying to show the point.
That's really good.
And then I say something about disaster recovery. You should do it. You should do it all the time. You should test it every year. And,
That's really good.
I don't have any fancy pictures or anything like that, but somehow I'm going to talk about all that in 7 minutes or less.
Really
Great job.
good.
Thank you.
I need to beef up my stuff. Goodness. All right, Christina, put me to shame.
No. I think we're gonna be on the decline now. All right, now let me get my PowerPoint pulled up here, and I'll share my screen with everyone.
Teresa, you already know your slides are great because I used yours. I watched your videos to know how to record mine.
Dude, I am 3.5 minutes. Hell,
Yeah,
you and Benjamin could take up 30 minutes. You don't need the rest of us. God, you guys have really good content in there. I'm very impressed.
I'll be perfectly
Yours is
honest.
great too. I like yours too.
I put all that in there. I didn't have anything until 3:30 this afternoon.
Oh my God.
I'll be honest. I've just been slammed with sending people home to work remotely all week.
Wow.
Me too.
Oh, I'm having to update my. Let's see what my preference is here. Security and privacy. Sorry, guys.
David, is your child sleeping through the night?
She just started about a month ago.
Oh, good for you. Good for
I am
you.
loving every minute of it.
Especially if you're up at 2:30 in the morning, you need your sleep.
Yes, ma'am, I do. And of course, those will be the nights she usually wakes up early.
Yeah. I have to deal with teaching my daughter math and reading. And this is what I did today. I know you can't really see it. That's my way of fractions. This is a pizza. And I'm like, I say it in a yell. And I'm like, I ate a third of it. How much is left? I am not a teacher. I'm not a teacher. Oh, I get so aggravated.
I'm having issues sharing my screen. So it's saying, okay, we need permission to share your screen. Let's see.
Oh,
Security and privacy.
Not letting you? Let's see.
Yeah.
Let me look and see if I have to I didn't have to click anything for David, but hold on. If it doesn't work, we can just, hold on a second, let me see.
Ben, I only see a BH now. I don't see you anymore.
Oh, yeah? How about you? Right now you don't? Even when I talk?
Nope.
I think it's because I was sharing. I think once you share and somehow or another it didn't go back to the camera. Oh, look, no, I have to turn the camera back on. When I shared, it turned the camera off, and I guess it didn't automatically turn it back on. But would you like for one of us to share it for you?
Yeah, that'd be great. I don't know. I'm having a hard time.
I've only ever used this particular team stuff for NKU, so I'm not like a wizard with it.
Okay. Yeah, I was like, I can't figure it out. But if someone is willing to pull up mine, I am happy to walk through it, or I can talk through and say which slide I'm on. Either way works for me.
And I apologize. My internet keeps freezing. So if I pause, it's not that I disconnect it. It just keeps freezing.
Oh, sounds good. Here, let me make sure I've got yours open. And I'll share my screen. Hold on a sec.
Teresa, how are the kids adjusting to being at home?
Well, my 9-year-old is fine. She lives in her pajamas. My 2 boys are a lot older. They're 18 and 25. So when I get frustrated with school, or her school, not my school, her school, then I will text my son, who's right upstairs, but I have to text him, and I'll say, help your sister. So I yell a lot. I'm very loud.
I'm with you. Okay, I'll walk you guys through. So I've got a total of 10 slides, but there's not a ton of content on my slides, and I've got my script written in the notes section. So I'm covering the promotion of products and services. And if we go ahead to the second slide, I just want to talk about understanding the customer needs at every stage. And we want to make sure that we're able to properly promote the services at Rocky Mountain Community Hospital, and that the business understands the customer's needs and at each stage of choosing a healthcare provider. And then the third slide, I'm going through the strategies for promotion and engagement. So there's 6 areas that I want to focus on here on the third slide, which is analytics, responsive design, improved workflows, segmentation, audience targeting, and improved search capabilities.
Ben, can you scroll down?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm on the 4th slide now where I'm talking about data analytics.
So further down or this one here? I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. The data, the one more. One more slide. There we go. That's okay. So I want to talk through data analytics, saying that marketing engagement will be greatly informed by the integration of customer engagement, the measuring of digital touch points, and objective assessment of customer and employee interactions. So one of the things that I focused on in the promotion of the products and services is not just on the customer side, but also the importance of making sure that employees have access to the right information at the right time via the right device. And if we scroll ahead to the 5th slide, talk about responsive design. So David, that kind of talks about delivering the right content to the right person at the right time, whether it is on a desktop, tablet, or mobile, throughout however that individual wants to interact with the hospital organization, whether they're a patient or an employee. And if we go forward to the 6th slide, talking about improved workflows and how those are going to, increase efficiencies, improve the overall customer and employee experience, and how they can also increase revenue. So utilization of workflow applications will also allow the IT organization to ensure that customers, both current and prospective customers, receive the content that resonates with them, driving those improved experiences and revenue growth through, attracting more patients and more people to utilize the services at Rocky Mountain Community Health. And then I go into segmentation. So that allows just for highly personalized patient, employee, and partner experiences. So it says, much like larger, well-known, successful businesses such as how McDonald's utilize customer segmentation to identify gaps in customer segments, driving the expansion of perks such as free Wi-Fi to appeal to teenagers, Rocky Mountain Hospital will utilize segmentation to target content, identify gaps in the customer segments to drive expansion of the customer base that they want to target for engagement.
Very cool.
Yeah, audience targeting. So understanding who your customers are and what they do and how they engage with your organization is really key to developing strategies to target those customers and employee touch points. resulting in successful execution of Rocky Mountain Community Hospital's strategic goal to improve customer and employee satisfaction. So it's important to understand who your customers are, what they do, and how they engage. And by collecting that information, Rocky Mountain Health is going to be able to provide more targeted services to attract those potential patients and also partners, and then improve the overall employee experience. And my 9th slide is improved search capabilities. They're going to focus on driving increased traffic through improved organic search and search engine optimization. So additionally, the use of enterprise search is going to allow employees to search for and retrieve information that's related to their work in a manner that complies with Rocky Mountain Community Hospital's information sharing and access best practices. So making sure that the information that not only potential patients find, but also employees, that search is safe, compliant, efficient, and relevant to the content that they're trying to access. And then my last slide is just a thank you. I'll breeze through that, and I will have more to talk through, but I wanted to make sure I covered everything in there. So if you go back to the slide, I think it's the 3rd slide. It is the one with all the little icons, the analytics, responsive design. There you go. So that I took that framework from our executive summary, and then each slide focuses on a component of that. And then my plan is just to speak more to that, utilizing the whatever it is the notes that I wrote down. I was like, what is that called? Your script. That's what it is. My script.
Well, for the record, we should have just recorded that. That was great.
Oh, good.
Very good.
Yeah.
It's amazing seeing how our different career paths and what we do is reflected in this.
Yeah.
Clearly,
You can tell
had
I'm in sales, right?
Yeah. This is good, though. This is great.
The only 2 slides I think I would even get rid of now in total are Ben's agenda. I don't think we need that because, I think he could do an intro on his main slide. And then I don't think we need your thank you because Anita's going to sum it up. So those are the only 2 slides, I think. And those are like the extras.
Yeah, no, that makes
The
sense.
only thing I don't like about your slides are that mine don't look as good as yours.
Hers look fantastic.
Your slides
They
are
look
awesome.
fantastic,
Oh
right?
my gosh.
Images and
We
graphics.
should have done everyone's slides.
It was the PowerPoint. It was great. The theme that you sent, Teresa, was. I mean, I literally did nothing. I clicked on it, and then it popped up a menu of all the different theme options, and it organized the information for me. It inserted these icons. These icons. It was really. I was like, oh wow, I'm going to use PowerPoint more at work because I use Google Slides usually, and I was like, this is really great for formatting.
Well, you picked really good slides.
Yeah. Awesome job.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
So
thanks for sharing your screen, Ben.
I think between the 3 of you so far, I guarantee you could each talk for 7 minutes for sure. Yeah. So, and mine's like 3.5. And then Anita's won't be more than 3.5 either.
Yeah, we don't have to talk for the same amount of time. It doesn't matter. I mean, as long as it all makes sense together, then who cares?
Yeah, you guys did a fantastic job. So that's what, 21, that's pushing 30. If you guys don't go over 7 minutes, and I did 3.5, and if Anita doesn't go over like 3.5 minutes, then I think we're right under that max, which honestly, I think she's going to grade this pretty easy.
Mm-hmm.
Mine is actually 7 minutes and 32 seconds.
And I can keep mine around 6 minutes. I can do that.
Okay, so that's about 17 minutes with the 3 of us. And then Ben, how long were you talking? 7?
I haven't recorded anything, but I'll make it 7. And if I can't, then there's some content in there I could scrap.
Okay, that'll be around probably 24-ish minutes. And then if Anita does, her intro should take no more than like a minute.
Yeah.
And then her summary with the timeline shouldn't take more than like a minute or 2. So I think we're good. So when are you guys going to record? When can you record?
I planned on doing mine this weekend, if
Yeah.
that's all right. That's when
Mm-hmm.
I'm able to focus on my schoolwork usually.
Yeah, I think it would be great if we could just say, let's have it done by the end of the weekend. You know, everyone's got a lot going on with the world right now, but end of the weekend, and then also, I think it's legitimate to bring up, you know, if anyone's not able to get their content, that gives us time to consider how to get things together.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a lot going on. A lot of people have a lot going on. If someone, for whatever reason, wasn't able to do that piece, we could fill in the gap.
Well, and I mean, honestly, you guys have already done all the work.
Yeah.
No, don't give it
That's
too much
recording
credit.
your voice. Huh?
You're giving too much credit because actually, when I saw that you had recorded your slides, I said, crap, they're supposed to have the slides recorded today.
Dude, I wrote out my script. I practiced it with a timer just to see if I was going too fast, too slow. And then I just did the record. And I think that in total, it may have taken me 20 minutes. So what you've already done is the vast majority. All you have left is the recording, which is like the most minor part of this whole class. Yeah, and you already recorded yours, right, David?
I did because I saw you recorded yours.
I'm
Oh,
gonna go listen to yours. I want to hear the gravelly voice. Yeah, if we can all have it done by like Sunday night, and if you guys upload it to that same site, I probably have less going on because I'm not in the IT or the security. I'm in finance. And I'm like, good. I already have everything done for work. I am fine consolidating it all and submitting it. So if you just say like finished or complete or final, just so I know which one is final, I'll put it all together.
Oh,
So
thank
guys-
you.
Why don't I make a folder? Because some of it already has audio, and that site's weird. I'm going to make a folder just called Final Slides inside there. Is that all right?
That'd be great. Yeah, so once everyone does their final slides, put it in that folder, and that would be perfect. And once I combine it, so I think this is what I'm going to do. Once I combine it, because I'll probably download it all to my desktop, combine it, I will delete it from that file section if I have the authority to do that, just so you guys aren't confused with, did she pull it? Did she not?
Well, another thing to keep in mind, I never noticed this until right now I'm looking at it. You look at that files page at the bottom, it says 39% of 52.4 megabytes used. Now that, 39% doesn't sound bad, but we're getting ready to put in new copies, and some of us haven't added audio yet. So in any case, just keep an eye on that. You guys all see that too?
Yeah, I would say like everyone can take theirs back down and then just upload into the final.
Like if just when you go to upload your final, take your other one out of the way. That way we don't run out of space.
And then what I can do is I can take Anita's, put it in, add it to like mine, and then send it to her and tell her to do her audio. But I'll put it in like the right format, and then I can help her walk through that.
That's great. Thank you, Teresa, for doing all of that.
Oh, thank you.
That's extra work, so thank you.
You guys did awesome. Very
You
impressed.
give everybody credit, but you're not saying how nice yours are. Yours are very nice.
Mine are minor, man.
I stayed up at 2 o'clock when I heard your recording. Mine is nowhere near hers. I recorded like 6-7 times compared to yours. So, awesome job.
I think we all work really, really well together.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and how about that grade on our executive summary? That was awesome.
I know.
Really.
Great.
Great call.
In the weirdest class, like she grades easier, stuff is in weird places. I've already finished all the quizzes and all the posts, and it's weird.
Yeah, she really ought to. I'm not asking for more work, but she really should have said, rather than the 5 post thing, she should have said you need to post or respond to a post twice for each module.
Yeah.
That way it keeps you involved and kind of forces you not to do what most of us have done.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm hot and heavy the first 2 weeks, and then I pretty well finished most of it.
All right.
Okay, well, I think we're good, and I'll get my recordings uploaded by the end of the weekend. And Teresa, I'll just let you know when I do that, and I'll make sure to put them in the right place and make sure they're tagged with final. Take my old one down.
Yeah. Yeah,
Sounds
that
good.
works.
I'm going to send this recording to Anita.
Okay.
Perfect.
All right.
Tell her to listen to the beginning and the very end if she's cut for time. Like I know that she needs to see all of it, but if she only has a little time, she needs to hear what we said in the beginning and what we just said at the end.
Mhm.
I think
I'll
that's
send
the
an
key.
email I'll either send an email to all of you or I'll put it in the post or something, but it'll be addressed to Anita, but you'll all get copies.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, you guys.
Thanks,
Bye.
guys. Have a great night. Take care. Stay healthy.
You too. Bye.